What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and some more Hail Caesar coverage here. We're moving on to the Ostrogothic Italy faction today. This is definitely a shorter list, and also just given the time period, right, short in history as far as the time that they were active, but nonetheless an interesting one to play sort of in the post classic Roman, classic world period that, a lot of the battles tend to take place in. So again, here we're looking at late 5th through mid 6th century. So again, a very brief and very specific time period here, since the Ostrogoths really just weren't around for all that long. So interesting list compared to some of the other more recent factions too, where we've seen a lot of infantry heavy or just more balanced lists. This one skews things in the completely opposite direction. This is a cavalry heavy list, so you can go 100% cavalry in this list, but at least 75 has to be, and up to a quarter can be infantry. So, and within the cavalry, there is one more sort of caveat there. At least half the cavalry units in the army must be heavy or medium. So beyond that, some fairly typical things with divisions and skirmishers, although in the divisions there, so each division, of course, must be led by a skirmisher, 4 units, but fideles must form part of the general's division where present. We'll get to that in a minute. And then allied Franks must be organized into their own divisions and can include skirmishers, as noted below. So we got a little bit of a extra wrinkle there as far as building these armies or this force. So, and as you can see, we're not kidding when we say this is a very brief, very simple list as far as number of choices. So starting off with those said Franks, we get Frankish warbands with throwing spears counting as pila. We could upgrade to medium infantry warbands to tough fighters, actually. So up to half of our Franks can be tough fighters. So again, if you want to go all in on as many Franks as you can, not a bad way to go. And having essentially these large warbands here with tough fighters is a pretty nice way to do that. So, and again, that wonderful clash of 9. And then that, of course, drops off. But again, we do get that 5-up morale save. So we're not just completely dealing with no armor or no protection here. So then we get actually full-sized archer units. So Goth light infantry archers. Again, not really there to be fighting, but provide that wonderful long range. The only other long range we get are basically bowmen as skirmishers and as small units. But again, still another way to provide some long range firepower for the list. So there's not an excess of any one area in this list, but you have enough to be competent in everything. It's just, can you make it work? That is the question. So we do get, for such a small list, we do get a fair number of units that have special rules to help give us some somewhat elite type units. Now again, we just talked about the archer package, and again, that's essentially all of our long range. We do get Goth heavy cavalry, so again, we're getting into our cavalry requirements here, and we are spoiled for some choices here. So Goth heavy cavalry Busalari, which we're probably not pronouncing it 100% right, but they have spears, and again, another wonderful clash of 9, and these guys are eager. So we can have basically as many of these as we want, 30 points a pop. And of course, that wonderful heavy cav morale save. Then we get the heavy cavalry, the fideles with spears and up to 1 unit. Again, we saw above where they have to be included. But basically, it's our single best unit in the list here. And we get 1 of, so, considering, if you're already thinking about playing this faction and you have, this is one of your choices, one of your few choices here, you might as well take that one sort of elite guard type unit for the general's division. So these guys, for 1 extra point, this is a steal here. Basically, they will get tough fighters in a heavy cavalry unit. So we'll take that all day long at 31 points there for that 1 unit. Finally, to round things out with the other cavalry here, we get eager medium cavalry with spears and or javelins. Again, we're gonna go with the and there and still take that for some short range action. So, oops, apologize for the shaking here. Those guys will again be eager, 27 points, and normal medium cav stats. So, but another wonderful 8 on the clash there. And then finally, small unit light cavalry. Again, we know what they do because we've seen that in so many different lists, but no special rules on these guys, but also just 19 points a pop. And then finally, everything is rounded off with leadership 8 across the board, so no weak leadership here, but nothing exceptional either. So it's a pretty simple list, as we said. Again, it's going to be heavily cavalry focused. That being said, lack of choices isn't always a bad thing here. It's just it's going to be a more straightforward approach as to what you're going to be doing. You have essentially lots of heavy hitting units between the heavy cav options and the Frankish warbands, which ideally you should be including, just because again, when you throw in a bucket of dice, hopefully you can put lots of wounds together there. So there's just in those few units you have a fair bit of strength, but again, you need to do as much damage as possible and get charges off to be as effective as possible, because as we can see, the sustain on all of these units drops considerably, and they're just, it's not going to be a very durable list. So this is going to be all about proper offense applied and correct timing there. Now that being said, bringing in as many archers as we can afford to bring, just to supplement everything and to ideally soften up the opponents, some of their units, to make your own charges that much more devastating. So of course you're not going to outdo a lot of other factions from a similar time period in their ranged options. So it's going to be a tough battle sometimes, but again, if you can get the right charges off, this can be pretty hard hitting. And not everything's always going to go the opponent's way either, of course. So giving those best orders, getting in good positions, being smart with your orders and your application of your units. And this could be a potent list, but this is certainly not one of the more overpowering ones, as we've seen with some of the more famous, more heavy-hitting, and longer-lasting factions from history. But nonetheless, could be something fun to try, and a little something different from the beaten path there, and gives you again some interesting modeling and painting options, right? Because we can bring in the Franks as well, and include that in our list here for the Goths. So let us know, guys, what you think about the Ostrogoths here, the Ostrogothic Italy list for Hail Caesar. Have you ever tried this out or played against someone who has, and what kind of things were you doing model and hobby-wise? Be really interesting and interested to hear your thoughts on that. So hit us up in the comments there, guys. Like and subscribe. We'll be moving on next as we finally get to a really exciting list here when we start getting into the Byzantines next. But for now, let's focus on the Ostrogoths, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.